Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the Leads Academy Q&A webinar. Hopefully this is being recorded. It seems like it is. We will just go ahead and take a look at what is on the docket today. We're going to start with a few commonly asked questions about lead generation that we've collected. We will then move on to a few questions that we've seen repeated about the Leads Academy. We will take a brief look at the bonuses that are coming with the Leads Academy, and then finally we will open it up to a question and answer session where you can go ahead and ask any questions you may have. Hopefully we can keep this webinar to about an hour or so, and we will try to just get to the meat and potatoes and make sure that we are not wasting any time during your business day. I want to say hello. This is Nate Fischer. I am joined with my co-host and good friend, David Longacre. David, how you doing over there?
Good, man. Good. Ready to get started. It's early over here, late for you.
Awesome. Yes, it is. All right. Well, let me see if I can figure out how to use.
Present.
There we go. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's hop into the first question here. Now I've got 10 questions that I went ahead and collected. And the first one right out the gate, maybe you can answer this, David. So we've been seeing a lot of this question, which is I have an SEO or a PPC agency. We've also seen some people with web design agencies, and they'd like to know, is pay per lead right for me?
Yeah, for sure. And so I have much experience in this as I started my background actually in selling web development, and then transitioned into selling SEO as well as selling PPC management. And so it's pretty much the same exact concept as you going and contacting clients via email or phone or any of that stuff. But the beautiful thing about pay per lead and what really attracted me to it, and it's very easy because you're still running an agency, and you're kind of, if you're already in a niche with a PPC agency or SEO agency, it's really easy to transition. And what kind of really turned me on was just the scalability of it, and especially if you're used to pitching SEO, and you're used to doing SEO audits, and you got to do all these little tactics to send video audits and kind of stuff like that, to where you're doing a lot of legwork and you're having to transition them from, not trusting you to trusting you just to start SEO. So the thing about pay per lead is it's just way easier to close clients. You're not really having to do a ton of over 45-minute conversations and going back and forth, and having them to understand what truly pay per lead is. There's definitely some education. I'm not going to say it's the easiest close in the world, but it is definitely 100 times easier than closing a SEO or PPC client. So, and the beautiful thing is you can provide fast results, and you just make a ton more money. So that was the most attractive thing to me. Whereas if you're already in the SEO or PPC management, PPC management especially, because you can take clients that are already doing AdWords themselves, and then transition them over and say, hey, look, I'll put my money up front, and we can go ahead and transition this into where you go ahead and just pay me per lead instead of every single click that you're paying with AdWords. With SEO, it's like, hey, I know you're used to, you're probably wanting a lot more results because you're kind of waiting it out. I've got this other plan here. We can transition this over to, I just start delivering leads to you. How does that sound? So pretty easy to transition over to that. And again, it's such an easier close. So super easy to transition.
Awesome. Fantastic answer there, David. Now, here is another common one that we see a lot. People have been wondering, and you may be wondering if you're watching this, how much capital is required to get started in pay per lead? And I would say, to give a quick answer, Depending on the niche that you choose, if you are going somewhere where you're either in a geo that's not as competitive as one of the major metros, or you're in a niche that's not as competitive as, let's say, personal injury attorneys or any of the higher CPC industries, the level of capital is incredibly low. You can essentially get a performance-based contract with any sort of local service-based company and start generating them new leads with less than $100 in AdWords budget. If you put the $100 into the unbound software, if you're using landing page builders and you don't want to go and pay high amounts for a high ticket landing page from a designer, you can certainly get started and get your first pay-per-lead contract and fulfillment within, I would say, somewhere around $500 or less. What's your experience with that, David?
Yeah, I would say this about the same as well. So when you're and especially it depends on the niche. If you're already in doing SEO or PPC, you understand that niche pretty well. If you're in a niche, therefore you already kind of understand how to provide results pretty quickly. So in my experience, you're going to put your money up front and you're pretty much going to get your money back. Depending on the niche, like if you're really in the water damage restoration and the click is very high, you're going to be forking over some money, but I wouldn't start out with that niche if you're just kind of getting into it with these really, really high CPCs. But, $500 just to start out, you're probably going to get that back within 2 weeks. And then, the third, fourth week, you'll start making some good profit right off the bat. So kind of have it down to a structure in that format.
Yeah, and that's definitely, obviously we're speaking about AdWords there, and there are certainly situations where you can go ahead and create a local lead gen site and organically rank it in a small market and spend $200 to $300, $400 getting some couple of links, getting some citations, build the site yourself, and you can lease that out for $400 or $500 a month relatively easily as soon as it's generating leads. Now, that's obviously going to have you waiting around a little bit more. Ranking things in Google seems to be taking longer and longer as the years go on in the search landscape. But depending on, I guess the main thing there is picking the right niche and making sure, kind of avoiding the big boys, avoiding any of the industries that there's tons of capital behind, people that are actively paying a bunch of different marketing companies. Definitely take some research going in, not only looking at AdWords, but also looking at the organic competition. But let's move on here. So this is probably, and this actually is myself as well. I'm certainly not a salesperson, but we keep hearing this over and over again. Essentially, I suck at sales. Can I still do pay per lead?
Yeah, 100%. And I hear that question over and over again, and it's one of those sayings that if you put it in your mind that you suck at sales, then of course you're going to tell yourself that you suck at sales. But if you tell yourself that you can learn anything, then you can definitely learn anything, especially with the right training. With the right training, you can pretty much learn anything. So even if you take yourself out of that box and saying I'm not a salesperson, sales is literally just persuasion. And so my career of sales, I wasn't in sales. I've been in sales for probably about 8-9 years, and before that, I kind of just had the random jobs. But you think about it from your starting point of your life, you have always been into persuading in general, right? So persuasion is pretty simple. When you started off as a kid, you wanted something from your mom or dad. You wanted to transition them into helping you out, get that item that you wanted. Boom, that's persuasion, that's sales. You wanted to ask a girl out on a date, and you went about it in a different way to be creative in your. But again, it's just believing something that you want in life, and persuasion is pretty much sales. So with the right sales training of putting it out there, understanding the pay per lead model, again, the reason why I love the pay per lead model is it's much easier to close. So you're presenting them, you're presenting an option to them where they don't have to pay on a monthly management fee if you're just doing a pay per lead model. If you're doing a hybrid model, rank and rent, then you can transition that into, hey, we're going to get you these leads and you just pay us this amount of money and we'll get you this amount of leads. But really, if you're taking this and putting this in this model and you present it and you compare it to anything else like SEO or PPC or Facebook ads or any of this stuff, these people are having to pay a monthly management fee to a person that they have no idea. And the reason why pay per lead is beautiful model is they're paying for performance pretty much. So whatever you can deliver to them, they will pay for. And that's why they kind of eat that stuff up. And for you to be able to learn this stuff, we have many, many modules in there, whether if you're just starting out in sales, whether if you have sales guys already on board and you want to transition them over to the pay per lead model. I have the complete module 3 is my A to Z how to do sales, getting over your fear of sales if you have fear, how to pitch, how to qualify, going objections, negotiating, going through that whole entire sales process to transition yourself from not being comfortable with sales to getting really, really good understanding how to sell pay per lead, right? And then we have the module 4, which is completely going in, taking you from, okay, I have my list of prospects. I've already done my market research. I understand my niche a little bit. And now I'm going to start putting my list in and I'm going to start just picking up that phone. And I talk about transitioning into, not being good at sales, that we have the scripts are pretty much the golden ticket, right? So you're just going to be repeating the same thing over and over with the sales scripts. Obviously, you want to read it, you want to understand it, and you want to remember it to where you don't sound like a robot reading off a script. But those scripts are in there in the course, and they are just the golden ticket to. That's exactly how me and my sales guys have presented, and that's we take you from the cold call to the follow-up email to the close call, and even the agreement sign and how I present that as well. So that right there is that's your ticket to understanding sales and understanding the persuasion, and just getting over your fear is literally just doing something over and over again, right? So you can pretty much get good at anything if you repeat that action on a daily basis. So
awesome. Let's move right along here. Next question coming out the gates, and we see this one quite a lot as well. What industries does the lead generation model work in? And I can go ahead and kick this off. Pretty much any local service-based industry, their plumbers will buy leads. Lawyers of all types will buy leads. There's lawyers that will buy millions of dollars of leads a month if you can get the deals with them. Towing companies, anything that has a little bit of an emergency or an immediate need. So people that have like water damage or fire damage or mold remediation needs or instant towing, or people that are 24-hour towers will buy leads, and they're used to buying leads. They understand the market. It's a beautiful thing where anybody that has a marketing budget is going to be interested in a performance-based deal. Anybody that's advertising on Home Advisor, or that has a listing on Home Advisor, or that is advertising on AdWords, so which is essentially every single local service-based industry. All of these companies they're focusing on what they're focusing on. So if you're an attorney, you want to be focusing on practicing law. If you're a plumber or a concrete company, you want to be focusing on plumbing or laying concrete. So there's this entire world of companies where when you contact them and you say, hey, listen, I'm not going to pitch you that let's work for 3 or 6 months and you pay me $1,000 to $4,000, $5,000 a month, and you kind of close your eyes and hope that the traffic to your website increases and your phone starts ringing more. This is, hey, let me start sending you leads and you only pay me once your phone rings. So there isn't really an industry that doesn't work with lead generation. Although when you get to some of the, and I don't want to say more mature, but the more complex deals where you need to perhaps trust, like let's say you're working on a commission-based close or anything that's not a standard fixed rate or per lead rate, and you kind of have to depend on the contractor or the service provider to be honest. That's maybe where this advice, you should probably sit and think a little bit. There's certainly industries that we've worked in that just, it's a little bit harder to trust the business owner on the other side, and we get into a lot of that. And I know, David, you go through that with your qualification steps and onboarding process. But in terms of what industries does lead gen work for, it's literally any industry, and it's fantastic for local service-based industries.
Yeah, 100%. And you can do like you said, like Home Advisor, if you're into the home services, if you're into legal, there's Avo. So there's Yellow Pages, there's Yelp, there's all these different directories out there that you can do a ton of great market research and understand people's wants and needs, and going down that kind of rabbit hole of getting into a niche and understanding those user-based reviews that are on there, or those reviews, so you can understand what people are looking for. Therefore, you can understand that niche a little bit better, and then you're going to know, and great thing about Home Advisor is they put out simply how much an average job cost. So, and there's probably 80 niches just on there, and there's some off-wall ones where you probably wouldn't think of it, but they lead generation works for pretty much anything and everything. So
definitely. All right, let's keep cruising right through here. And this one is actually going to be probably a different answer for both of us. We're getting asked a bunch, do you use contracts with your pay-per-lead clients? For most of our deals, well, for most of my deals that aren't pay-per-lead, like software deals or businesses, yeah, always use contracts. For our pay-per-lead stuff, we've kind of cushioned into a lot of deals where we don't really need, we haven't used contracts. We've been on pretty good terms with partners and intermediaries and people that have been pretty trustworthy over the years. We kind of like to get things going, and then if we're working a stricter contract or a more complex deal, then we might work an agreement that needs to be signed. But for the most part, we'll kind of go off the hip with loose contracts or no contracts as we go through our lead gen stuff. And I know, David, that you perhaps have a different take on this.
Yeah, we're pretty confident that we can find, that we do a lot of qualifying for going and digging deep to when you're getting your prospect list and you're attacking a niche and you're going in a city. Let's just take pest control, for example, and you're in the Los Angeles area and you're going through your list and you kind of dig down into say you got 60 guys and you're contacting all of them and you're in contact with a lot of them. Once you find a couple of these guys, and really that's the beautiful thing about pay-per-lead is it's a partnership with a business that already kind of has their stuff together. Therefore, they're hungry for leads and they want for you to, pay per performance is a beautiful partnership between you and the business that's ready to take on those leads. So we just send over the agreement, and the agreement is simply that, hey, we're agreeing on whatever price that we negotiated on, and here is what we're going to present to you in this format, how many leads you're going to get either in the first week or the first month, or how many ever you want to present it in that format. And if you want to cancel, then that's fine, because really, if you are doing SEO on your website and you're generating leads, or if you're doing the PPC, you are the one that holds the golden ticket. So therefore, we just kind of present it as, hey, this is our handshake to you. If you agree to this, this is how we present it. But we don't need to hold anything back because we have the generated list of 60 other people that we can call and, do a little bit of scarcity in that way, that we let people know, like, hey, we are the one that generating these leads. And especially when you get into some off the wall, most local businesses do not know how to generate leads. So that's the power of having the confidence in your hands, is that you can generate these leads. And that's why we kind of just present an agreement in that format. So
Awesome. All right, let's keep moving. And we've already pretty much touched on this. Just thought we would add it as a slide because it seems to be a common question. So to briefly answer this one, you have obviously heard us talking about AdWords. We will also use Bing, a lot of Google My Business listings, and then organic search traffic, both from lead gen sites as well as parasite listings or Web 2.0 profiles. I don't do currently any Facebook lead ads. I know, or not just lead ads, but Facebook lead generation. I'm not sure, David, are you mucking around in the Facebook advertising world for local lead generation?
I'm in the home services niche now mostly, but when I started off, I was in the transportation niche, and I was using Facebook ads, and it works actually pretty well. I only do Facebook ads for retargeting now, but it still does work for a lot of industries that are maybe not so much home services, but like transportation, or works really well for law, works really well for like mortgages, real estate, anything like that. So there are certain niches that it can work really well, even like gyms or CrossFit, stuff like that, where it's more of a kind of presenting. That's what Facebook ads is you're kind of grabbing attention from people on their Facebook ads. Google ads, or Google in general, is people kind of looking for it. So think about your audience and think about your niche. But yeah, Facebook ads works really well as well, but it just is for certain niches that it works 100 times better than it does for other niches. So, but roofing, it works really well if you're catching, like if you're in certain areas where they have massive storms and stuff like that. The weather, you can literally present stuff. If you there's all kinds of creative ideas that you could come up with. And that's what Facebook is for, is coming up with those creative ideas, how to attract that customer base from there. So if they're not searching.
Awesome. Let's move along here. And this is one, I know you wanted me to show the slide, David. I'm a little bit worried that I'll lose my spot in this presentation, but we can do it if you'd like.
No, that's fine.
So we've got the age-old question: how much money can you make from pay-per-lead? Quickly, before I hand it over to David, I know for a fact you can make tons of money. There are, we have Jensen, which is a lead management platform. And at times when we're debugging issues, I'll have to look through customers' accounts, and there are a ton of people that are generating between, let's say, $2,000 to $7,000 to $8,000 a month gross in leads. That seems to be a ton of single person shops, just one guy or lady sitting back and generating leads. But I know that there are also people that have scaled their lead gen businesses into the multiple seven figures. It is not only something that kind of can be an extra revenue stream for you, but it is a world where you can build an entire enormous business around it. And why don't you touch on that a little bit, David?
Yeah, 100%. And that's the beautiful thing again about pay-per-lead, is if you're doing the SEO and you get them on as a contract for say $2,000, and you have to spend $1,000 on links and get a link builder and to take up your own amount of time, the profit could be pretty slim, and it doesn't really go up unless you're trying to transition them into a wider area. With pay-per-click, same thing. It's a management fee. A lot more profit, a little bit less time in there. But again, you're kind of in that monthly management fee, whereas pay per lead is you can take someone that is like, say for a pest control, and you just closed a good pest control client in the Los Angeles area, and you agree to 50 leads, right? And you agree that the average lead price should be about $50. So that's about $2,500 in revenue that they pay. That's about $1,000 profit if you're getting those leads, for half, which is usually, and it depends on the industry if you're in, but a good way to look at the structure is pretty much if you're doing a pay-per-click on AdWords or Bing, you can do like a 1 in 4 conversions there or something like that in the pay-per-click. But say if you're spending around $12.50 on AdWords, and then maybe you are spending, maybe you're spending $12.50 on AdWords and you get 40 leads for them, and then you spend an additional $150 on Bing and you get an additional 7 leads for them. And then maybe you had a GMB and you put that up and it maybe got 3 on the first month. Therefore, you only spent, about 1,500. So therefore, you got about $1,000 profit, right? So that's a pretty easy way to look at it. Whereas if you're spending your money, say, and then the second month it goes into, and this is our transition a lot, is the first month we agree on a certain amount of leads that they can take on. But then it's usually the second month, the third month, they get really used to the system. And of course, they're hungry for more leads because they're making money at this point. So say you present them 100 leads the next month. And obviously you agreed on that. You said, okay, we're going to turn it up a bit. We're going to spend some more money on AdWords. We spend $2,200 on AdWords, and that generates us 80 leads the next month, right? And then we spend a little bit more on Bing because we dialed that in. We get an additional 10 leads for $200, right? And then we want to start ranking our GMB higher, so we did some local citations and some press releases, and we get an additional 10 leads from that. So about 100 leads, and we're still at the lead price of $50, but we spent $2,500. That's $5,000 in revenue for them, and that's $2,500 in profit. So usually the second and third month, you're generating some good leads for them via AdWords and Bing and the local GMBs and a local website. And therefore 100 leads, you can make about $2,500 profit. If you're getting, you're sending them and you're only spending $2,500 of what you spent for that month. Therefore, you made $2,500 profit. This is how comparable it is to SEO and AdWords. You can't do that transition to where you can agree on a certain amount a month, or you say, okay, how many can you take on the next week or the next month? You agree on that. You go and do whatever you need to do with the AdWords or the Bing or the GMBs or any of these other avenues, Facebook ads, stuff like that. You turn it on. And that's literally the massive amounts of profit. We've got guys that we start off maybe about $750 in profit, and then they go all the way up to about $8 grand. So it can get pretty dang high if you find a good niche and the good partners in good areas. So
yeah, and one of the things that we've utilized has been structuring more complex deals where you can go ahead and reach in to get a piece of the pie off of closed leads, it takes years of working up to not only structure the deals, but to get the trust on both sides. You can't just usually stroll into a concrete company and tell them you want 8% of all the closes that come through. But eventually over time, you can take a partner that you've been working with, fulfilling leads for a year, 2 years, and say, hey, I'd like to speak about perhaps getting some different structure into our deals. And that is something that you can use to incrementally jump up as you scale, so you're not just kind of linearly moving up the chain.
yeah.
Okay, so this is a common question. The easiest way to get started in pay-per-lead. Before I hand it off to David, I would personally say, and this advice not only applies to pay-per-lead, but any sort of digital agency, I've always found the most success trying to stick with one or two or three verticals and move through those before I move on and try to do whatever client I can get. So let's say that we are doing pest control. It would be worth it to quickly pop up a landing page or a simple website saying, hey, we are the pestcontrolleadguys.com, and kind of go and hit up every single pest control company that you can talk to. And that way you are kind of creating a cut and paste outreach template that you can go and start applying to your sales process. And then once you start actually closing those guys, you will be able to, one, build an AdWords campaign, and you can get all the negative keywords, do some research on the first time that you're running the campaign. And then you get another client month two that is in a different geo in the same niche. You can just go ahead and copy the campaign over. You are carrying over all of the knowledge that you've already gained from that campaign and kind of rinsing and repeating that process. In terms of the easiest for getting started, if you're following that strategy of niching down, if you will, definitely running a simple landing page with some AdWords traffic, simply because the world of local SEO is a bit more turbulent, and you might be waiting 3 months or never ranking. So from a business perspective, being able to kind of have a timeline that you can trust, that's under your control, hitting up a company saying, hey, I'd love to do some performance-based marketing. You're not going to pay me until we're generating leads. And then once you go through, kind of close the deal, pop up a landing page, should only take an hour or two, and then pop up an AdWords campaign, which is only going to take another 2 or 3 hours, depending on how used to the AdWords interface you are. And I would say that's probably going to be the least friction for getting started. How do you feel about that, Dave?
Yeah, I would completely agree. Just like you said, like picking one or two niches and kind of digging it down, doing some market research, going and understanding that niche, and then yeah, just a simple. I actually provide an agency kind of site that you can just throw up, and it's pretty simple. You can just kind of copy that exact same structure, change it up a bit. But it's pretty simple. And even if you're not comfortable with doing cold calling sales, I provide some email scripts that you can literally just shoot out, and it's kind of like, hey, we have partners or leads in your area. Are you interested? And you'll get, you may not get the perfect type of client, but if you're just getting started, you don't need the perfect client. You need to get on a guy that understands and just kind of hungry, right? Just hungry for leads in general. And there's a ton of those guys out there that are just hungry. Maybe they just started their business maybe a year or two ago, and they don't know how to generate leads, and they're all for it. Those are the kind of sometimes the best clients to get on board, and that you may just have already just sent out a couple emails, maybe sent out 20 emails just to kind of get some feelers around. One guy responds, he says, call me, you call him. Therefore, he already understands exactly what you're doing. And maybe in the email, you sent him a link to the landing page. And so kind of get some understanding of exactly what you're offering. And then you kind of go over that process as simply, hey, this is what we're offering. We can generate leads. And then, yeah, really easy to get the leads is just like Nate said, just throwing up a landing page. It doesn't need to be perfect. Like imperfect action is what you need to just start off. Throw up a landing page. 100, like I can't tell you how many landing pages that we have been through that are just god awful, and they still generate leads. Like if you've ever done AdWords management, you have probably attacked all these guys' landing pages, and they're really, really bad, but they can generate leads pretty quickly. So that's the beautiful thing about AdWords. So if you get up a landing page, you throw up some AdWords. You may not make that much money from the start, but you start perfecting your AdWords, you start perfecting your landing page. That's literally the quickest way. And you can do the same thing with Bing. Like if you don't have a ton of money to get started and you agreed on maybe 5 leads for the first week, you could shoot up a Bing campaign and it does the same thing. So.
All right, we've got two more. This one is, how much client management is involved in running a lead gen business? Now, we've got, I would say, probably less clients than you do, David, and some different structures in our deals. So there's a fair bit of back and forth in our business. But maybe you can touch on what it looks like from your side where you're really hitting the ground running.
Yeah, and this is this is one big thing that I had to kind of take on as I was scaling and taking on more clients and understanding that process. And obviously, I've scaled to account managers that handle the accounts. But at the start, I did it all. I did the cold emails, the cold calling. I did the sales. I did the closing. I did the AdWords campaign, shooting those up, the Bing campaigns, the GMBs, and kind of doing it all, which you can definitely do it all. But as you kind of grow and scale, that client management, it's not much, right? So especially if you're doing an AdWords campaign, and in the first probably 2 to 3, 4 weeks, you're in that thing every day, right? And you're in there, you're doing some negative keywords, you're optimizing it, you're kind of tweaking it in that. But after that, it's kind of, once you start delivering leads, there's not much in there. The client management process, even in the first month, is really where it's most detrimental. So you are sitting there kind of holding their hand, giving them an understanding of how it works. And you'll run into some guys that just can't close deals, and they're going to blame it on you. And that's completely fine. Like that's one of those things where it's not a perfect system. That's why it's not completely passive. In the first month, it's going to be a lot of hand holding. You're going to be going through the process and saying, okay, this is how it works. And as you gain more successes, you have more successful clients, and you get more and more on, you can simply tell them, hey, this is what works. This is what we see works, and kind of transition them to understand. But that's why if you're going after like a model that's already understand in the lead generation, like Home Advisor, people are already used to buying leads. There's not nearly as much hand holding. So that's a simple trick. That's why we close so many clients, is we attack an audience that already understands a lead generation model. Therefore, there's not much hand holding, and they also don't drop off nearly as much, because they already understand that they need to have their sales system in play to kind of keep playing this game of buying leads, generating those sales, and doing that. And other than that, that's really the only issue with that, is you're going to find these clients that just don't have their sales systems in play. Don't sit there and try to go back and forth with them and try to fix their sales system with them. Just move on to another client. There's plenty of clients out there that are hungry, that have perfected their sales system, or at least just hungry enough to keep working with it, and they're okay with going on. But the client management, after really the first month, we literally have partners on board that I haven't spoke with in about a year. And in some of them, we do speak maybe every single month. Some of them I have my sales guys call like within the first 2 to 3 months. They'll follow up with them, just making sure how everything's going. But then some clients, they don't want to be bothered. They have already got their system in play, and it's a simple, hey, this is how it's going, and I'm glad you're getting your stuff like that. So, but we do a lot of interaction within the first 2 to 3 months, just because we're trying to solidify that relationship, make it good, and also grab some testimonials and reviews that we utilize to get more new clients on. But I would say after the first month, you're probably looking at about an hour a month per client. So not much at all.
Yeah, and we see a pretty much similar trajectory. It's almost a lot of times, and it's been probably 5 or 6 years now since I've been involved in agency work on the SEO side. But for a lot of SEO clients, let's say you perform really well for them over a year, they're paying you monthly, and then year 2, year 3, they're starting to question you. You start to get a little bit of pushback on, why is the budget lower, what's going on with this, And it's almost the inversion of that in the pay-per-lead space, where the longer a relationship goes, the kind of less time you have to devote to it. The other thing is when you're working on an SEO campaign, you spend a year working on an SEO campaign, you've ranked somebody else's website, you've gotten some good insights into data with keywords and what converts, sure, but if you spend a year on a lead gen campaign or a pay-per-lead campaign and you lose that client, you own all of the data, you own the landing pages, you own the AdWords campaigns. You can just easily call up a competitor and say, hey, I've been supplying leads for the last year for your competitor, John, and things didn't work out with him. Would love to kind of trial you into the system and see how you can handle the leads. So that's definitely something that we've noticed over our career. And here is the last frequently asked question that doesn't have to do with the course. This is something that I see a lot, and it is the idea or the question that, is the lead generation model getting saturated, and is it getting harder? I would say in terms of organic SEO, especially over the last, it's always getting harder in terms of organic SEO. So we've seen monster authority sites over the last 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 years with all these algorithm updates that are rewarding these enormous sites. You've got, like you had mentioned earlier, David, Avo and FindLaw, and there's all of these major authority sites that are directory style that just clog up the SERPs in a bunch of the high value niches in the largest metros. So like things like personal injury attorneys or attorneys in general are a bit difficult to break into the SERPs there. You have companies that are spending millions of dollars on their backlink profile and their real world PR. That's definitely been a trend that we've been seeing. Recent update a week or two ago with Google removing the ability for a site to have more than 2 listings in a given SERP should actually shake up the local lead gen industry a little bit in terms of organic traffic. Still waiting to see the outcome on that. But how do you feel about the saturation on the AdWords side, David? I know AdWords CPCs have been crawling up for the last 2 decades probably, or 15, 18 years. I know that's been the trend as AdWords gets more expensive every year. But how are you dealing with that as you have grown and scaled your AdWords side of the business?
Yeah, I mean that's a big part of mine is mainly the AdWords generates the majority of our leads. And so we have definitely seen the CPC kind of year on year just keep going up. But that's where you kind of help out with doing some Bing campaigns as well as some GMBs and some local SEO, just some long tail traffic that will definitely help generate some leads. But there are so many niches out there, and the thing about the AdWords is, yes, the CPC may be going up just because there's more bidders and advertisers, but there's also guys that shoot up, find out that it's too expensive. They have no idea how to generate leads with a nice landing page, and there are still so many crap. Like even in the dental industry, which is like one of the most saturated niches out there. There are still plenty of opportunities. I'm here in Huntington Beach, and there's probably about maybe 20 to 25 dental dentists around here, and they are in need of leads. There's guys that aren't even doing any kind of marketing. They're not doing any type of advertising whatsoever, and they're in need of leads as well. So in one of the most saturated niches out there, it's still there's still so many guys out there that are hungry for leads. And you can compete against so many different, and you take an off the wall niche, like I don't even know, like there's just so many little like niches that you can do. Even like just fencing or stuff that it's not so saturated there. When you're competing in those kind of niches, there's just so many websites and landing pages that are just not up to date, and therefore you slap a nice little template up there, or a high converting landing page, it's going to do a lot better than any advertiser that's up there. Therefore, you're going to be getting a lot more conversions, and those advertisers do fall off. So that's kind of how I see it. I wouldn't say it's overly saturated to where there's just so many opportunities and so many niches out there that there's plenty of opportunities. So.
Indeed, the sky is the limit. So we went through the top 10 questions that we've seen about lead generation. We are going to go over some questions that we've received about the Leads Academy, which is our course dedicated to everything lead gen. You get a look behind the scenes in David's business, and you also get to see everything that you need to know about fulfilling leads and everything on the technical side. Let's kind of roll through these and just get them out there in case you have these questions, and then we'll go ahead and get to your guys' questions as quick as possible. So the first one, is the content being dripped out? The answer to that is half no, half yes. So right now you hop in and you're going to get access to, I believe, around 100 plus videos that are already done. You will have everything you need to start or scale your lead generation business. And we are planning on adding a couple of new modules over the next 30 to 60 days here that I don't plan on dripping mine out. I'm going to make a new little series here about local authority sites, local lead gen sites, that is going to be auxiliary to my existing content. I will have some other stuff related to running AdWords campaigns in a different strategy than the one that I've taught already. But yes, so the answer to this, is content being dripped out, is no, but there will be new content coming. We've been asked a number of times, when does this launch end? And the answer to that, if you guys registered for this webinar, you may have seen that you also have the second part of this webinar on Tuesday. And this is going to be closed Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, at which point I believe we will just completely shut the doors down for at least 60 to 90 days. It'll be impossible to purchase the course. And when the doors open back up, the pricing will be significantly higher than what we're at right now. Let's just keep going through these. Do we provide a payment plan option? So we recently today added a payment plan option. If you don't want to drop $4.99 at one time, you can drop $2.99 a month apart. And this is probably the most frequently asked questions in regards to the course. What does the course cover? And we are going to, actually we already have, if you go to course.theleadsacademy.com and click on the button to enroll, that should shoot you over to the course specific landing page, and you can go ahead and scroll down. You will see a block of HTML or text that says curriculum, and you can actually look at every single video that has been uploaded to the course. We cover everything from prospecting for new partners or clients, fulfilling the actual leads through AdWords and SEO. We cover all the different ways that you can kind of saturate your lead flow. So not only taking a successful AdWords campaign, but then transferring it over to Bing, implementing a GMB strategy where you have GMBs, not only giving you organic leads, but also hopping in with location extensions on your AdWords campaigns, on top of just your regular AdWords campaigns with the other extensions we're using. We are going pretty deep. Mark has a lot of deep content in the SEO side of things. So you will have all of your bases covered in terms of running or starting or scaling a lead generation business. The course is beginner friendly, so we tried to add content that not only was for people that are either already started or started and trying to scale and figure out how do you break through those ceilings, how do you go from 5K a month to 10K a month, how do you go from 10K to 20K a month, how do you go from 20 to 50K a month. That is all in there, and the systems and processes that we've used to climb that ladder are available for you to see. However, if you are just starting from scratch, that is also a perfect time to jump in and go through the content, and the same things that you'll be using to go from 10 to 20K are going to be the foundation of what you'll use to go from 0 to 10K. And I kind of answered this one at the same time. So is this course expert friendly? It certainly is. There are probably not a ton of other guys pumping the amount of sales through such a structured process with the local lead generation space as David. And we do a good bit of damage ourselves. We also have a lead management software that helps kind of bring the glue together. So it is 100% expert friendly. And we already touched on this one in the first section with kind of the general sales questions, the general lead generation questions. This seems to be in every digital agency the number one issue with our folk who are a little bit more technical, hanging out on the computer all the time, is that I'm not good at sales. Does this course help with this? And David already touched on the fact that he's going to be walking you through some mindset training. He's going to be handing you the scripts and making it as foolproof as possible for you to be able to close the sales. If you're scared of sales, that is okay. By the time you're done with this course, you are going to have all the tools and the knowledge of your space that you will no longer be scared of sales, or at least you will be able to understand them, which we are also going to give you the tools to do that. And another question here, what if I have extra questions or need more guidance after watching the training? Now, the Leads Academy is going to be a brand that we're going to keep around for a really long time. We have a lot of plans for it in the future, and it is not going to be something that we just kind of set and forget. So we will not only have a monthly training session, you guys will have access to our emails, you can add us on Facebook, and then perhaps most importantly, there will be a private Facebook group that you can hop into and get not only access to us, but to a wide array of lead generation professionals. And there are guys that are absolutely killing it with traffic sources that neither David, myself, nor Mark is using in any of our lead generation businesses. And let's go here through the last one. So we've gotten this one. Are you holding anything back in the training? And plain and simple, the answer is no. If you are in the Leads Academy and you have any sort of questions about any of the processes that we use in our businesses, you will have completely unfettered access to us, and we will not be hiding anything or keeping any of the gold nuggets to ourselves. And then the last one here, a little bit of an obligation, is the pricing really going to go up? 110% will be going up. This is kind of a special deal where we wanted to get as many people into the fold as possible, build the community, provide as much value up front, and then in the next 2 or 3 months when we reopen the doors, there's going to be a price tag that is somewhere around $2,000, $3,000 to get in. So that is the top 10 most common asked questions that we've gotten about the Leads Academy. Let us quickly look at the bonuses that we have ready for you if you come into the course. The first one is going to be 90 days free to Jensen. That is for any plan that you would like. So you can hop in, you can see the kind of infrastructure that we use, whether you're doing a pay-per-lead model that is going to require a little bit more back and forth on every single lead that comes through, or if you just want to do a fixed billing model, you can go ahead and handle both of those in Jensen, and you can do that for free as you get your business started. Or if you're already a customer, you can get a 90-day grant of free usage. We will also be handing over a pay-per-lead contract template that David uses in his business. Again, and we will have the monthly Q&A webinars. That'll be not just a bonus for people that buy now, a bonus for anybody that buys in the future, as well as the private Facebook group, which will be, I'm assuming, when we look back over the next year or so, the private Facebook group will probably be providing the most value outside of course, the curriculum, but there are just a extremely high number of valuable conversations that happen in private Facebook groups where we're a little bit more comfortable that the things that we type and say aren't going to get blasted out all over the internet, and that we kind of keep a tight-knit community. And that is Leads Academy bonuses. Let's go ahead and we can go through. If you're watching this and you're still with us, thank you very much. You can drop any of your questions into the question and answer box. We are going to go ahead and go through them one at a time. And let's go ahead and start with a question here from Kevin. And he says, how do you get contracts without any track record? I can quickly speak to this. The beautiful thing about a pay or a performance-based model is that you can really reverse the risk on a potential client, where you can say, hey, listen, it's not necessary for you to do anything other than trust the fact that you're only going to be buying leads that are already fulfilled. So they don't have to take any risk. It's literally, hey, let me send you leads. If you don't like them, that's fine. Then don't pay for them or don't continue working with me. It's not quite the same as if you are a digital marketing agency and someone needs to trust that they're going to have to spend $12,000, $20,000, $30,000 before they can potentially see a return. The whole beautiful thing about pay-per-lead and lead generation is that you can really lower the risk to any potential partner, where you're essentially putting your money where your mouth is, and you are following that up with the fact that local lead generation is a relatively easy business to be in. So it's not quite as, I guess, necessary to have a track record. Now, you can also kind of patch that by creating a specific niche brand or a niche specific brand, where even if you've never generated a lead in your life before, but you make a lead generation agency brand that alludes to the fact that you have, or is just pretty much exactly in the vertical of your potential partners that you're approaching, you are not going to really get much pushback. That is kind of the beauty of this. If you do get any questions, you can say things like, I have confidentiality agreements in place, but I would love to send you a few trial leads. And you can even offer to just make their phone ring for free. I don't think that David actually sends free or trial leads, but that's certainly something that we still employ in our lead generation business, and it's perfect for that situation where you're brand new, you have no track record. Well, hey, then send them leads for free. Send them 3 or 4 real phone calls, and then call them and say, hey, I'm going to turn off the leads unless you want to do some business together. I don't know, you have anything to add to that, David?
No, that was actually pretty on point. The only other thing I would be is just is you can be brutally honest with them again, like he said, is just, hey, you don't have to worry about that. If we don't generate good leads for you, you don't pay us. But you can also just tell them brutally honest, like, hey, I'm not in your niche yet. I'm into a couple others, but I want to get in your niche. So I'm going to do a great job for you because I want a case study on the back end, and that makes them feel super comfortable that you're going to do a great job. And again, it's paper for performance. So they're not too they don't need to see a ton of trust with that you need a ton of clients or any of that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's the beautiful thing about selling pay per lead.
Definitely. All right, next question. So we have, do you also teach pay-per-call? That is a great question. I actually have a pay-per-call, the AdWords side of the training all sketched out. And to be completely frank, I haven't run pay-per-call campaign for at least the last year. We were just having issues with pay-per-call campaigns generating lower quality leads. If it is something, and there was also a relatively large update to the pay-per-call AdWords policy in, I believe, February of this year, where AdWords started suspending a lot of lead generation pay-per-call accounts because they want the business that's picking up the phone to be the business that is on the advertisements. Depending on how you're structuring your deals, especially if you're starting with a generic brand, that can cause issues as you start to scale. So you can get in an AdWords campaign and then it could run fine for a few months. And then as you start to get some spend, you can get a review and get it removed. So I guess one of the things that I'd like to find out is how many people are interested in me finishing up the pay-per-call module. I prefer to stick to training on things that I'm actively involved in, which is AdWords and SEO. Also a lot of software, if anybody would like software training. But so outside of that, I have the module sketched out. I'm going to dig into a local authority site's module first. That'll probably take me the next, I imagine, 3 weeks to really get all of the content there that I want to get out. But after that, I do have a pay-per-call campaign that I would like to do a similar over-the-shoulder style training of. So if we get people coming in through the onboarding and they answer the document that I have people answering when they come in, and we keep seeing pay-per-call in there, we will go ahead and we will update our pay-per-call campaigns and get that training done for you. Pay-per-call is definitely something that works better in certain industries than it does in others. And let's see, we have Simon here. Do you have experience of selling leads outside of the US? I'm UK based and want to serve both the US and the UK. David, maybe you can speak to this.
Yeah, actually, we have a national Leadgen site we sell leads to Canada and the UK as well. And so it depends on kind of like what niche you're in. But yeah, 100% you can, especially the only thing that really kind of stops, some of the people is a little bit of language barrier, but again, it's paper performance. You're sending leads to somebody, and especially if you already have had success in your own country and you want to sell to another country, you can simply just show them that, hey, we're delivering leads for these guys in this country. So if you're in the UK, I'd recommend just starting with the UK, but you can definitely sell to the US as well. US, plenty of British people over here, and they're not they have no problems with that accent as well. They actually like it. So same thing with us calling UK. Canada is pretty easy. There's not really anything wrong with that. UK, they'll kind of get a little bit off, but they just think we're an American living in in the UK. And then when they ask us, hey, do you guys live here? No, but we generate leads in the US just fine. And it'll work for you. Again, that little bit of a track record is probably going to help you expand to a different country, but 100% you can expand to. Same thing if you're in Australia and you want to send to US, or if you're in any other country, just gained a little bit of success in your own country. And then you can have plenty of success in any other country. We deliver leads to Canada and UK just fine. So.
Yep, and Simon, we also the Jensen platform has multi-currency support. So we have customers that are lead generators that are operating in the UK, Australia, South America, all over the world. So it's definitely something that can be applied to not only your market and the US market, but all of the markets around the world. Let's keep moving down here. George asks, how about for dentists? Dentists are traditionally, I would say, a higher, more competitive industry. They are usually very turned on to digital marketing, and it is 100% a valid industry for lead generation. Now, we mostly stick to local services, so like roofers, HVAC, concrete, construction, some legal stuff. I don't have any dental clients, but there are tons of pay-per-lead guys that are working with dentists. I know actually there's a number of pay-per-lead guys that are running Facebook ads and offering kind of lead magnets off of Facebook and turning those into appointments and selling those on a performance basis. So yes, dental is definitely a perfect industry for this. And we'll continue down. How do you feel about mortgage leads? Coming from Hans. Since many people shop around months before they actually need a mortgage, good or bad niche? So David, do you want to touch on mortgage?
I don't have any experience in mortgage, but just like you said with the dental industry, people are shopping around for dentists as they are shopping around for mortgage. They're also shopping around for niches that I'm in as well. But yeah, lead generation can literally be applied to any one of these niches. It's going to be you learning the market research, understanding that. And that, again, you can literally get into lead generation for pretty much any niche. Your specialty is going to be understanding that niche, and especially if you already have experience in the mortgage industry, just kind of learning the ins and outs of it already. If you understand it really well, then yeah, 100% you can generate leads. And people shop around for all kinds of different niches, so that's not really a thing that's ever turned me off. So that's and again, if they're in the mortgage niche, it's not your job to fix the mortgage niche and have people not shop around, right? Those mortgage guys or real estate leads, anything like that, they're used to people not closing immediately, and they should have their sales process on point where they're following up. But again, that's their play. You're just a lead, you're doing the lead generation. So.
Perfect. And we've got a number of questions here about, you guys showed up a little bit late. So I see one question about email notifications not making it to you. I'm sorry about that. I tried to spam as much within reason. Yes, this is being recorded, and the very minute that the recording is ready, we will upload it to the YouTube channel, and you can watch it at your leisure. Let's see here. Okay, here's a good one for you, David. As your business scales, how do you manage all the customers, and do you cover taking on staff and sales in the course?
Yes and no. I provide a lot of training on how we do the sales part of it, and a ton of hiring list builders. I don't cover exactly how to hire sales guys on board yet. I plan on taking on that module, and that'll probably take me anywhere from three weeks to 4 weeks because I want to make it a full, complete system. I have had success on Upwork of hiring sales guys from there, so I plan on putting in an extra module in there as far as hiring the sales. But as far as like managing how I manage it and how I scale is, again, it's just hiring out that piece and hiring the sales guys or hiring an account manager that can kind of help me and handle that stuff for me. But as far as like that's kind of one of those things. If you don't have like, you really can handle a lot of that stuff by yourself. If you don't even have 10 partners yet, then I wouldn't even think about hiring staff. You just want to keep your costs as low as possible to reinvest your profits into your assets, like your lead generation websites or anything like that, to where you can literally get to 10K a month and not have one person on your team. It's a beautiful thing about lead generation. There's not a ton of work after you get these guys on board. But after that, if you start scaling and doing that, that's where, in another month or so, that module will be put in there, and it's going to be super helpful to anybody that wants to scale quickly. Then you can definitely go through that module when that's put in there as well.
Awesome. So we have a number of questions of people that are interested in the link for the course. We'll go ahead and drop that after officially, but if you'd like to hop over there right now, it is course.theleadsacademy.com, and that'll be the course website that you can go ahead and go through and get access to the course. Next question here, and Joe, saw you say some things about making sure that clients have proven sales systems in place. Yeah, it's definitely, when you get into the performance-based world, it becomes pretty apparent that you need to spend a lot of time qualifying, because every Tom, Dick, and Harry will be interested in performance-based marketing, but a large percentage of them are not going to have these systems in place to be successful. And then it becomes kind of a game of filtering the businesses that do away from the businesses that don't. Quickly, so another question on call-only Google ads. Sean, they can be super successful. It's hit or miss. If it's an industry where people are going to want to be doing a little bit of research, a lot of times you'll get junk leads that'll come through that are people that are just way too up the conversion funnel. There's also spam that comes through call-only ads. There are a ton of people in the lead gen world that literally just do call-only ads and aren't doing landing pages. I've always found landing pages to be the more beneficial way to be running long-term campaigns that you're optimizing over time. However, like everything on the internet with digital marketing, you want to be split testing. So you could be in one niche and call-only ads might not work in Los Angeles, but in the same niche in Portland, call-only ads might be super profitable for you. So I guess those are my thoughts there. Here's another question that we get all the time, and probably should have made it into the original FAQ section we went through, but it is, David, can you please explain exactly how you determine what to charge per lead? I'm sure it depends on the geographic area and the niche, of course. I know I can check Home Advisor, ask the prospect what they're currently paying per lead, find out their close ratio, etc. Do you have a definitive system to determine pricing?
Yeah, so I mean that is those little things that you said. So again, checking Home Advisor, that's one big one that we do. And then obviously if you get one good connection, and it's not like there's not like one definite answer. Obviously it does depend on the niche. It does depend on the area, because we have guys that'll be paying $55 a lead, and then in another area we got guys that are paying $75 a lead. So that kind of helps as well. But like if you're just starting into a niche and you are, if you're doing it in like a rank and rent model, you can just kind of simply, you dig into how much what their average job price is, and then you can go and look at like the CPC if you're not doing the AdWords. But if you are doing AdWords, it's a little bit easier, to where you can pretty much just understand that, okay, this is the CPC, this is how much people are paying. And then our general conversion is literally like 1 out of 4 clicks is usually some kind of conversion via phone call or email form lead. So therefore you can kind of predict if it's $10 per lead, and therefore, or $10 per click, and it takes you 1 out of 4. That's about $40 per lead. We can kind of just give ourselves a little leeway there. And that's just average. We can even say, and again, a price per lead is just between you and that partner agreeing on that price. If you're just starting out and you don't have a lot of confidence in that niche, or don't have a lot of confidence on what you can gain your price, just make it a little bit lower than what you think. Maybe if you're getting them for $40 a lead, put it up to $45 a lead, and you make $5 profit. That's just if you're starting out. As time goes on, you're definitely going to be digging into that niche a lot more. You're going to be helping your price per lead come down with the help of Bing, the help of SEO and all that stuff, but also fixing the landing page. But again, we just dig into like how we really understand is specializing in that niche and just understanding that niche to really understand like how much you can charge price per lead. Hey, what's your average job price? And the guy tells you, oh, we just closed $15,000 this week. We can take on some more leads. Okay, cool. Yeah. So for that to happen, we're actually going to have to charge you more, and this price per lead will go up just so we can, because we are putting our own money up front. How does $65 a lead sound? Yeah. If he's making money on the back end, boom, you get that price per lead. So we have guys that are literally like $55 a lead. We got guys that are $75. We got guys that are, $40 a lead that we just gradually move up. And again, you can always kind of agree on that price per lead as time goes on and you learn that niche. So there's not really, I wouldn't say there's a definite answer. It's you learning that niche pretty well. But just starting off, if you can do simply just 1 out of 4, and you could say, okay, well, I'm going to cost me $40 a lead. I could charge them at least $45 or $50 a lead to make $5 to $10 profit. That really, really helps kind of just understanding that process there. So.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Next one from Lance. Can you take on too many customers too fast? I would personally say yes, you definitely can, especially depending on how you structure your deals. You can potentially be out significant amount of cash up front. There's an art to scaling any business, whether it's pay-per-lead, whether it's web design, whether it's doesn't matter what it is. You want to make sure that at the beginning you are being methodical with building your processes, making sure that you understand the pain points in your system, and making sure that you are completely ready to scale, which we are going to help you with in the Leads Academy. But if you don't have all of those things taken care of, you are going to exacerbate all of your issues. So if you don't have your fulfillment system down, if you don't have your client management system down, if you're not getting a good feel for how much time is going to be spent dealing with objections or leads that people don't like or whatever it is, you can definitely lose quality across your entire business if you are scaling too quickly. And we've got a question from Richard. Are you going to be doing GMB training in the course? It's a good question, Richard. Right now, I'll have to check in with Mark. I do not believe that we have much GMB content other than on the AdWords side using location extensions and how we do that. In terms of actually ranking a GMB and getting it popped up, there are so many info courses around that, and a good friend and partner in a software of mine, Chaz Edward, has a completely free GMB course, which is going to teach you a ton of the fundamentals and basically everything you'll need to know to get a GMB optimized and ranked. If you would like a case study, that is certainly something that we can go through and do, but we kind of looked at the GMB space and was like, well, a good friend of ours has a completely free course. It's a little unique area of local search, and there's so much content out there already for free that you should be able to follow that content and get your GMBs ranking. Now, if you just want to see an implementation of what that looks like, we can certainly go and do an over-the-shoulder GMB module. But as of right now, the extent of our GMB training is using GMBs to increase the side of your AdWords or your AdWords campaigns. And we've got a question from Kevin. You've suggested price points and how we'd scale this, i.e., does the training we can provide to others to do the work for us? So you want to speak to that, David?
Yeah. I mean, 100% on both sides of our training. We made it really, like he already touched on it, it's beginner friendly. It's also expert friendly as well. But yeah, I made my modules 100%. You can literally have your sales guys go watch, the entire module, every single module that I have to understand the pay-per-lead model, to go into the list building. You can hire someone out for that. Those modules are there. And then completely, transforming you or your sales guys into just absolute sales guys monsters. That would be the understanding of all sales, and that's module 3. And then understanding how to call and email and close these clients is module 4 in my sales. And then I'm pretty sure that your modules are the exact same thing as far as handing that off to an AdWords management. If you're hiring an AdWords manager in your sense, or hiring if you just want to understand the landing pages or hire that out, I'm pretty sure your modules are the same way, Nate.
Yeah, they definitely are. And actually, the local site build module that I'm working on right now, funny enough, is purposefully being developed so that I can hand it off to one of my team members and never have to work on doing a local SEO to a lead gen site ever again. I will be kind of updating some of my existing internal SOPs and nicely formulating it so I can have one of our team members go through my training and go and do exactly what is in it over and over again. So George asks, are all leads in the form of phone calls? George, we do form submits and phone calls. Phone calls are by far the large majority of the lead flow. However, form submits, when handled properly, are a very valuable source of leads. I know some guys charge differently based off of form submits and phone calls. Some customers just don't even want to buy form submits. We, for most of our deals, I don't want to say force it upon people, but we preach the value of form submits, and we have some things in Jensen so that we try to flip form submits into phone calls immediately. And if that can't be done based on time of day or whatever it is, shooting over form submits via text and email so that a contractor or service provider can immediately respond to a form submit. We've got a question here from Brandy. What is the possibility that we pay for this course and the Facebook group and the course go away / get closed in a year or so? Believe it or not, this has happened to me before. Brandy, there's a 0% chance of that happening. So yes, you can quote me on that. Both the Facebook group and the course will remain open, definitely for the next year and for the following years after that as well. Cruising on through. We've got a question from Simon here. Do we have any plans on integrating Jensen, which is our lead management platform, Local Viking, which is our GMB management platform, and GMB Swarm, which is one of Mark's ventures that verifies Google My Business properties? Simon, we do have some plans for a Jensen Local Viking marriage with some call tracking integrations going to the Local Viking side. And in terms of the GMB Swarm, I believe that Mark is actually going to be unwinding himself from that entity, and there probably won't be an integration there. And quite honestly, the time of getting Black Hat GMBs easily verified is probably coming to an end here as we move forward. It seems to be a little bit harder every single day. So yes to the Jensen local Viking integration, and most likely no to the GMB Swarm integration. We've got Sean says pay-per-call works good for me. Awesome, Sean. What industries are you running those ads in, if you don't mind? Another question from Peter about pricing leads. David, do you have a specific video in the course on lead pricing?
No, not exactly. It's more qualifying. I do give examples like for pest control and stuff, and how much I would do for that, but not an actual video. But if there definitely is, you know, a lot of people asking, we can even give examples of certain niches, and I can kind of go and make a video on that as well.
Okay, then yeah, we will definitely add lead pricing to the content, because that is keeps getting asked over and over again, and there's, I think, has been a lot of malarkey pumped into the industry by other guys that have been talking about lead generation but not really doing lead generation. Seems to be that lead pricing is one of the harder points of nailing down. So we've got a question from Richard. There's a gas and heating guy from my networking group who's interested in lead gen. He offers boiler services, boiler repair, and new boiler installation that are varying degrees of profitability. A boiler repair job will sometimes turn into an order for a new boiler. How do you go about billing for calls when calls requesting one service can turn into orders for a different service? And he also is suggesting to pay me 10% of the profit from the calls. Richard, to start off with, depending on how much you trust him, which should probably be not at all if you haven't really done business with him, I would probably try to hold off on the percentage of the profit, only because you have to 100% trust that he's telling you about all of his closes. And we've seen a handful of times over our career that that's a hard thing to truly verify. You can try to get access to his CRM. Some people are weird about that, but you can demand it. I would probably ease into the percentage of the profit deal. Maybe if you were doing that, I would try to get them to put money up front to cover some of the ad costs so that you're not getting stuck out of pocket. Mark and I have definitely been in situations where we had a number of deals that were percentages on the back end, and we had $20,000–$30,000 out waiting for money to come back in, and that can definitely affect your cash flow as it relates to running AdWords campaigns. And then billing for calls based off of differing levels. We have definitely done deals where commercial calls get billed at a different rate. David, have you been dealing with kind of different structures for pricing in the same deal?
Yeah, maybe we used to do it actually. I started off in the roofing niche, and a lot of people can do roofing installation and like roofing repair, so you can charge for different leads, and that would just take you listening to each phone call, understanding what that phone call is about. Form leads are pretty dang easy to do that. So I mean, you definitely can put it in that position to where you do that. That's just a little bit more legwork on your side. But if you get a good partner and he's willing to stay on and do all that shit, for sure, you can definitely put that out there.
Awesome. We got a question from Lane. How long did you say the course will be offered at this price? Lane, the latest that it'll be offered, or the longest it'll be extended to, will be officially Tuesday, possibly Wednesday, Thursday, depending. We usually will close an offer and then as soon as it's closed, we'll get a number of people asking. So you're looking at early to mid next week, and then the doors will be closed and it will be significantly more expensive the next time you see it open. We've got a question here. I'm from Asia and we do not have much business going on online. Will this lead generation course work for me to sell in the US or Canada? After yes, it definitely will. We are all Americans that are teaching the course, and I would say upwards of 95% of my lead generation experience is with American companies. And David spoke earlier about doing some business in Canada. So yes, it definitely will work. Another question, URL for the course, course.theleadsacademy.com. And Richard says, over-the-shoulder GMB training sounds great. I will make that note, Richard, and see if I can pull Mark's arm into going through some over-the-shoulder GMB stuff. Dave is asking if we will offer up our SOPs. Not you, David, but another Dave. Now, have you uploaded any of your SOPs? I guess now that you say that, as I kind of go through and update my local organic SOPs, I can add those to the Teachable platform. For the most part, for the AdWords training stuff, I will have team members follow my videos, and that's how I've traditionally liked to do SOPs, because I'll have to update those throughout time. AdWords will make changes either to the interface or to their different match types or whatever it is that Google decides to change at any given point in time, and then I'll just kind of record a quick video and say, here's what's changed. And we got a question here from Rod, just showed up. Hello, Rod. There will hopefully be a replay available. We're recording, and the plan is to have the recording go successfully, and then we'll send it out to you. So yes, it will. And it looks like we have gone significantly longer than I expected. Seems the questions have dried up a bit. I want to thank everybody for joining us. It was a pretty long haul today. If you are interested in signing up for the course, I highly suggest you do that sooner rather than later. Again, that is going to be at course.theleadsacademy.com, and you can go ahead and hop in. We have a dual payment option right now, as well as the single payment option. David, I want to thank you for joining me today and getting your day started off, because I'm getting mine finished, and we will let everybody run. Thank you very much, Richard, and we will see everybody hopefully on the inside of the course. If not, hopefully the questions and answers that we shared with you today have helped kind of any digital business you're in. But thank you guys, and we will go ahead and we will see you next time.